Hello guys, welcome to the History Flexes channel, and today we will be doing our video on comparison of helmets of the United States, British Empire and German during the First and Second World War. First of all, I wish to show you the British helmet. This is the standard British Army helmet of the First and Second World War. You've got a lovely helmet here, very resistant, dated 1936, lovely helmet. These were mass produced by the British Oh no, this is the wrong one, sorry, this steel helmet. This was made during the First and Second World War. Fortunately it doesn't have a liner, but it would have a liner similar to the other helmets I'll show you. This was made First and Second World War. Lovely helmet. Not very resistant though. Bullets would go right through it. It's merely made so shrapnel would go down on it like that. Later this design was scrapped for this beauty, which is the new and improved helmet for the British and colonial armies. This is a turtle helmet, and this was made actually to stop the bullets, but it still has a similar design with this fringe round the side. And here you have the division patches, which are, and you've got the corporal stripes there, and you've got British Army liner there, which is actually from 1952, but it is similar to what they had at the time. That's British done. Over to you, Ian, in America.
Hey, thank you, Edward. Now, I'm down here in America talking about my two steel helmets. I'm Ian, and I'll bring you the German helmet and the American helmet. So, let's get a bit of a rundown about these two helmets. Both very iconic helmets, both steel helmets, known for being in World War II. M1 helmet being seen in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, all the way up until its replacement in the 80s with the Kevlar helmet. And it wasn't entirely, like any different uniform or quick and change in the military. It's not, everybody gets this right now. It's gradual, it takes time, they don't produce a bunch of stuff first, then deliver it. Unless it's an aircraft. So, let's get a bit of a rundown on these two helmets. Both helmets are steel, as I said, but they have a very different shape and very different color. So I'm going to talk about my German helmet first, then my American helmet. I'm going to compare the two, and let's see how that goes. So this helmet, as you can see, is white. And this helmet is an M40 helmet. It was given to me by my friend Greg. I love this helmet. It's really cool to have. And people that I show or talk about this helmet really, I've always seen people really get into this helmet. And so you can tell this helmet has the winter whitewash in it, so it's possibly seen in maybe Norway or one of those European countries that were snowing at the time that either the soldier wearing this helmet was killed, taken prisoner, and GI picked it up. This helmet does have a bunch of marks on it. As you can see, there's a couple dark marks there, and these are just chips in the whitewash, except for back here. Funny enough, my mother was the one who pointed this out. You can see scorch marks on this helmet, and she thinks that maybe the person was killed in a bomb or mortar or a grenade. I don't know how true that would be, because this helmet shows no signs of any other damage. So he may have been caught in a fire or something, but it's very interesting to just see that. And also, you can see there are some areas right here and right here, as well as right there and there, that have some paint missing, and that paint shows another paint, which is tan. So this helmet, since it's an M40, could have been used in the Africa campaign. It could have been used in Normandy or one of those countries that they had tan helmets for that campaign. Now, I definitely know this isn't the triple pattern that they used at Normandy, because there's tan spots on either side of the helmet and in the middle showing no other color. This is a Wehrmacht helmet, so that is German Army. I do have a rule with myself. I don't collect anything from the SS specifically. I choose not to. This helmet does not have the decals. I don't know where the decals are. Well, I would know if I went to go look for them, but I doubt they're there. And I'm not going to ruin the whitewash to go look for decals. So keep in mind, don't do stupid stuff like that to find a little thing like that. It'll ruin your helmet and just devalue it. Let's take a look at the suspension now. This is the suspension. It's got actually, this lace is fairly elastic. I was surprised. It's not too elastic, but there is a little bit of give. And then it has a leather suspension, air holes, so your head can breathe while you're wearing this helmet. Especially in hot Africa, you want your head to breathe. That's also why pith helmets had so much distance from the suspension on your head to the top of it, as well as a screw on the top that was a vent. This helmet is pretty thick. It's made of steel. You can see the solid rim right here. And then it's got a little bit of the chin strap left on the bales, not much. It is a beautiful helmet. It's got a lot of character. I love the character of this helmet. It's very nice. Some people, I've seen a lot of repro German helmets, a lot of helmets that people have restored, got original German helmets. So they all look really clean, and you can tell the paint's just kind of like brushed on, and it looks weird. But this has the original paint. It's just got kind of paint chips and the messed up liner, and I love the character of that. If you look in here, you can see a name, Obergefeiter Naus. So that is a German rank and the soldier's last name. An Obergefeiter, over is Ober in German. Over is English for the German word over. I should rephrase that. Ober is German for over. Another thing I've noticed about this helmet and how I know it's the 1940 helmet, an M40 helmet, is because I actually did find the date. The owner of the helmet right here is where the date is. And I thought that was a serial number, like 946, when I first read it and was able to figure it out. It looked like 946. Well, doing it enough times, I ended up figuring out it was 1940. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I'm really glad to have this helmet. That I've seen other German helmets that have bullet holes through them, digs, and are just, not in great condition. And I love this is in great condition for a German helmet. They're very rare. I'm so glad I have this helmet. So there's a couple of funny facts about both of these that relate to modern kilowatt helmets, and I'll get to that at the end. So let's get off to this helmet. This is the American M1 helmet. It's made of steel. It's got a two-piece liner. This is the chin strap for the liner. This is the chin strap for the helmet. So let's go into the fact that this looks like an early war helmet. There are no, I'll show you the inside, but there is no identification of the manufacturer or the date of which this was made. However, later, I would say till late war, they saw what they would do is they would put cork on the helmet and spray it with OD3 paint. This is a darker, shinier paint like they had in the earlier part of the stages of the war, which isn't very good. If you see an aircraft overhead, that aircraft, the pilot's going to look down and see you reflecting off the sun, especially if you have a wet helmet. If it just rained, or if you just landed on a beach, say you're a Marine, you're fighting the Japanese, you land on the beach, and you're not wearing a helmet cover, and they look down at you, they're going to be like, oh, look, there's Americans, and they're going to strafe you. This is the chin strap for the helmet. Now, funny fact of why GI is worn like this and not under their chin is because there's a theory that the force of an explosive like a potato masher grenade, a mortar, or a bomb that went off near you and you're wearing your chin strap, the force would go into your helmet, force the helmet up, and break your neck. Now, GIs didn't want to break their necks. Who would want to just randomly be in a war and have your neck broken by your own helmet? Sadly, that was a reality for a lot of GIs, like paratroopers in Normandy, where their helmet would get caught on something or hit something and their neck would break. So that's why they put these around the back. This helmet chin strap here was to keep the liner together with the M1 helmet. This is technically called the shell. The inside is called the liner. Now, the liner is not an original of anything. It's a reproduction. It was a quick Christmas gift. It works. I did replace it with a Vietnam era liner headband that I have from a Vietnam era liner, and because the chin strap that was in there originally, not the chin strap, the headband that was in there was not very comfortable. It actually helped. It fit a bit better in a way. And the problem was that the clips would come apart and they'd fall out. And I didn't want to take the clips out of this and put it in that, even though I could. So I just figured, hey, I'll take that one out and put that one in this one. And then, but it does serve its purpose. I'm not going to go out into Afghanistan wearing this, or Iraq. I'd probably not even wear this outside, really, unless I'm getting to reenacting. So another cool fact about this helmet is its shape. You notice these two are very differently shaped. Now, that fell off. Again, cheap. It was a $20 line, a $20 liner, but that's really cool. I'm glad to have it. So the helmet has a very iconic shape. It's got a very cool shape to it. I love the shape. You put an ERDL helmet cover on this, write some graffiti and a peace sign, put the bullets there. You have a full metal jacket. You have these helmets were used by so many countries. This design, it's very iconic. It looks really cool. Come on, you can't say an M1 helmet doesn't look cool. And these two are just as cool looking helmets. And you might think it's stupid. Oh, why would you focus on a cool looking piece of equipment? Well, part of looking good in combat, or is partially of looking good. Because if you look good as a soldier, and if you look kind of tough, even at like a soldier, a marine, or a sailor, or somebody who is a combative, that's a fear factor to the enemy. German soldiers have very cool uniforms. And I'll admit, SS uniforms looked pretty badass. German uniforms in general looked really badass. And so that was a bit of a fear factor to the enemy. And as well as the American uniforms looking really cool were a fear factor to the enemy. And even the British uniforms, depending on, I don't think they look the greatest or the coolest. Edward would say they look great. So it's kind of a country bias here, but their style of uniform would also be a type of fear factor. Sort of like Mad Jack Churchill, the guy who brought the broadsword and bow and arrow and had them play the bagpipes in combat at I think it was Juno Beach. That guy's a fear factor. If I saw that guy running at me, I'd be like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Yeah. So these two helmets, they sit very differently on your head. They look very different, but they're all both beautiful helmets. So let's get on to the comparison of these two helmets in modern era. See, this suspension was used in a modern Kevlar helmet, known as the PASGT, first created in the early 80s. They followed this suspension style, even though the suspension in the M1 had changed in Vietnam, and after that, they went back to this part of the suspension. This part wasn't in the helmet, the Kevlar helmet, nor was this chin strap, because modern Kevlar helmets are all one piece: liner, chin strap, and helmet shell. And nowadays the liners aren't web suspension, they're pads, which offer more protection, comfort, and they stay on the head better. But they went back to this design of the World War II webbing suspension inside the M1 helmet liner. Also, German helmets were inspiration for the Kevlar helmets. The reason for that is because German helmets were designed to have protection, especially back here for the neck and the head, full cranial protection, but also so you'd have full peripheral vision as a soldier, which is very vital. You have to be able to see enemies and pick out oddities and differences. So if your face is covered, that's not going to do you well. The American Doughboy helmets and even the Kelly helmets that the Americans used in early stages of World War II, as well as the British Brodie helmets, did not have this. It was like wearing a bowl, not even a bowl, a plate over your head. And I do have a Doughboy helmet. I'm not getting my Doughboy helmet out right now, but it had like this much protection on you. And it was for shrapnel, if shrapnel rained down, to protect you here. But it wouldn't protect you if you were hit back here. Whereas this had sloped armor, so a bullet could ricochet off of the back of your head. Maybe not the back of your head, back of the helmet, but still, your chances of getting killed were less likely. Common myth about the M1 helmets as well, in terms of penetration, is that liners in combat were metal. They weren't. They were steel, they were either plastic or rosin. Rosin. Why did I say that? Resin. So they were lighter, but if they were steel, they probably would have been able to protect your helmet. The Americans wanted light over more protection, even though these could deflect or stop a bullet that was, say, a 9mm, like a German Luger, or Walther P38 round, or, yes, Walther P38. But they wouldn't be able to stop a K98 round. Even somebody might even be lucky, like they could probably survive an MP40 round if they were hit with this. So as you saw, that helmet liner was just a solid color. And this is my grandpa's helmet. He was a Marine Corps sniper during the Korean War. And you can see here the helmet liners had this sort of design. Almost looks like it was made out of Kevlar, but this one isn't. This is my grandpa's old Westinghouse liner. It wasn't his actual combat liner. He still has his, but he gave this one to me, and it's really cool. Oh, that didn't happen. And I just dropped it on the bag. So that was the M1 helmet liner, which screwed my train of thought now. Anyway, the Germans wanted to be able to see full peripheral vision, and the Americans knew this when making the Kevlar helmet. So they took that idea, full cranial protection and full peripheral view, with the first Kevlar helmets, the PASGTs, which honestly look a lot like a baseball helmet, like a modern baseball helmet. And baseball helmets are the same way. You have full protection, maybe not Major League Baseball helmets, but you have that full protection, but you have that peripheral vision. So you can keep your eye on the pitch, you can keep your eye on the ball and where it goes. And kind of the same concept with this helmet and the modern Kevlar helmet. So these two rival helmets were inspiration for the first Kevlar helmets in the world too. So that's a pretty cool little fun fact. Now these helmets are really fun to have, and just they're great to look at the comparisons. And Germany, America, like Edward had his England versus Germany helmets, American and German. I love these helmets. These are really cool helmets. And like any collector, you can't just have two helmets. You got to have at least four. And that's a love. I'm still working on getting more helmets. So that is my video on my two helmets. I hope you guys have a great day. Ian signing off.